Sometimes I get a few questions on this problem, which is a little funny, honestly. You'll have harder things to do that you won't have questions on, but something does look strange about this problem. I'll give you that much. If you notice, there's no limitations on t. Okay, our parameter t is without limits. It apparently covers everything. And yet, the curve does not go off to infinity in either direction. It just covers this very finite, cute little shape here. So what you should keep in mind, though, is that when you have no limitations on t, that, I don't know if I can say this always, but what that produces here is no orientation. No orientation necessary on this curve because there's no starting point, no ending point. It just goes around, around, around forever. Now, let's move past that and just get into how we evaluate this equation in terms of how do we figure out what A and B are. That's the question. What is A? What is B? Well, I think the best way to do it is just to make a table, right? I'm going to make a bunch of t values, a bunch of x values, and a bunch of y values. Okay, and I don't know any limitations on t, so I don't know why we shouldn't consider very easy things like 0, for example. 0 is a very nice, easy thing. I'll pick that for one of my t values. So if t equals 0, let's see what we get here. X equals a times cosine of 0. Now, if you've been through trigonometry, you know that cosine of 0 is just 1. So in other words, that's a. Okay. Well, how about y? This is going to be b times the sine of 0. Okay, so that's going to be, well, sine of 0 is equal to 0, so this just turns out to be equal to 0. And where does it look like this point is on the curve? Y equals 0, x equals a. Well, it could be right here. I think that would be a very good answer for this. You might also argue that it's over here, and yeah, I could see that, but I'll just say a is equal to 3. Now, if you say a equals negative 3, fine. It would be marked correct, but we'll just keep things simple. Now, what would be another nice value of t that I could choose? Well, we've already gotten into trigonometry a little bit, so let's pick a nice value that you remember from your unit circle. Okay, we'll do pi over 2. So at this place, x equals a times the cosine of pi over 2. Now, if you remember cosine of pi over 2, that's 0. So a times 0 is 0. But it's more interesting with the y value because we have b times the sine of pi over 2. And that means it's just equal to b. So in other words, right up here. Okay, that's my b value. At x equals 0, y equals b. Now you could say, well, how do you know it's not down here? And yes, you raise a good point, but I'm just going to keep things simple and say b equals 5. If you said b equals negative 5, fine, that's great. In either case, you're getting the idea. What we have here is an ellipse. Okay, that's what this parametrized set of equations describes. It describes this shape.